This video is going to walk you through the basics of naming covalent compounds. So that's when you have nonmetals bonded to nonmetals. Okay, so let's go over a few of the rules that we like to keep in mind when we're actually naming these. The first rule is that essentially the first element in the formula that you're working with is literally named first. Okay. Moving on to the second rule, because we'll put these rules in action in a moment. It'll make more sense later. The second rule is that we want to make sure that the second element is named as if it were an anion, right? So you'd have oxide, bromide, things like that. And finally, the third rule is you want to invoke prefixes. And to remind you what those prefixes are, we have mono, di, tri, tetra, and so on. And this means 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So let's actually do some examples so we can exercise these rules a bit. So our first one, N2O. So we are going to use a prefix. First of all, we're going to use di because of the 2 right here. And we're also just going to name it like it's a normal element from the periodic table, which is nitrogen. We're not going to change it in any way. But we are going to invoke the prefix. So we're going to say di nitrogen. Then how many oxygens are there? Just one. So we're going to say monoxide. Good. Another example, just a variation on this. When you only have one atom or element in the front, you don't put a mono in front. It's just a rule. It's one of those exceptions. So you're just going to go straight nitrogen. However, you are going to say monoxide. You still invoke the prefixes on the second element in this formula. And then another variation on a theme. We have 2 nitrogens, so we have dinitrogen again. Good. And then what do we got here? We have trioxide. Okay. So that's kind of using these rules as kind of guidelines so you can actually name these very typical types of covalent compounds successfully.